Eddie from Prison Ranch.
Oh, Joe.
All right, nice to meet you. All right, see you.
Woody. Good morning. I'm well, man. So we're having homecoming. Yeah, okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
We want to thank you for coming out. On Friday, our Board of Trustees approved unanimously for North Carolina A&T Athletics to go into the Colonial Athletic Association. Yesterday, the Colonial Athletic Association made that official by releasing their statement. And so we're here today to answer any questions that you may have about North Carolina A&T's new conference that we are excited about being in. Before we get started, I wanted to recognize some of our head coaches. Our men's and women's golf coach is here, Mr. Richard Watkins. Our head volleyball coach is here, Hal Clifton. Our head men's basketball coach is here, Will Jones. He brought our student athlete here, Kyle Duke. Welcome, Kyle. The way this will go, we'll start this off with Earl Hilton making an opening statement, and then we'll have CAA Commissioner Joseph D'Antonio then come up and make a statement. He called me the other day. He said his name is Joey D, so I think we're good with that. And then Chancellor Harold Martin will come up and make an opening statement. After that, we will have a Q&A featuring all three men. Please raise your hand if you have a question for them. So without further ado, our athletics director, Mr. Earl Hilton. Earl.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to this meeting that we're going to have today. Grateful that you're here and for the chance that we have to visit for a few minutes about the decision that's been made, the recommendation and the decision made by the Board of Trustees. We are very excited from an athletics perspective, very excited about the opportunity to associate with the Colonial Athletic Association. There's not a lot that I need to say to you about how we got to this place. I'm happy to discuss why I feel like this is the right place for us from an academic and athletics perspective. As we began this process several months ago, our driving motivation was what's in the best interest of our student athletes and what's in the best interest of A&T generally. Combing through the data, looking at the available resources and having conversations with every constituent group that touches A&T athletics made it pretty clear that the opportunity to associate with the CAA was in the best interest of our student athletes and A&T generally. I'm very excited about what this will mean for our young men and young women as they begin to compete in this space, and look forward to the ancillary benefits it will inure to the university as we begin to associate with and compete against these institutions in the CAA across a wide number not only of sports but academic disciplines. We're grateful for this chance and opportunity. It's my pleasure now to introduce, as Brian suggested, the Commissioner of the CAA, Commissioner D'Antonio, for a few remarks. Joey.
Thank you, Earl. Good afternoon to everyone. I do have some prepared remarks. Before I get to those, though, I want to extend a thank you to my new friends, and I mean this, Lisa and Regina Many of you on campus might know them well. They work over at Aggies Wings and Cafe. And I want to thank them sincerely for taking care of me at lunch a couple minutes ago. So special shout out to them. If you see them, please tell them I recognize them. I also want to let folks know that while I won't apologize for this, I grew up about 20 miles south of Boston. Some say I still have just a little bit of an accent. So if we drop a couple R's on the floor, please excuse me for that. Chancellor Martin, Earl, North Carolina A&T student athletes, members of the media, members of the North Carolina A&T community. It is truly a great day to be an Aggie. On behalf of CAA Board of Director Chair and Drexel President John Fry, as well as all CAA presidents, chancellors, and athletic directors, it's an honor to be here today to welcome North Carolina A&T, the largest historically black college and university in the country, to the Colonial Athletic Association. I'd like to extend my gratitude to Chancellor Martin and Earl for their efforts in making today a reality. Over 16 months ago, the CAA began a planning process that was focused on its future, specifically its desire to find a more sustainable and competitive model for institutions that comprise its membership of the conference and to position the CAA, hopefully ultimately, as one of the premier FCS conferences in the country. This sustainable and competitive model was built upon the following foundations and priorities. Number one, a student-athlete first focus that emphasizes the significant value of higher education. Number two, financial sustainability. Number three, a commitment by each institution to elevate the competitiveness of its men's and women's basketball programs on a national level, as well as each of their institutions' overall investment in sport competitiveness. Number four, maintaining the CAA football conference as one of the premier FCS conferences in the country. And number five, active presidential and chancellor involvement and leadership. The process that we've undertaken has been driven with a determined focus on the conference's newly formed vision statement. I'd like to publicly thank William and Mary President Catherine Rowe and Elon President Dr. Connie Book for their work and assistance in helping us formulate the new vision statement. The statement reads as follows: CAA institutions work together to advance nationally competitive college athletic programs, coupled with outstanding academic programs that empower student athletes as whole persons who strive at the highest level in every aspect of their lives. Our athletic fields, arenas, tracks, courts, courses, pitches, pools, and gyms are valued learning spaces. And our coaches are inspiring teachers and mentors. We champion a new collegiate model of Division I athletics, embracing transformation that advances our core commitments of academic excellence, inclusive excellence, student-athlete well-being, competing at a championship level, and sustainability. In its newly formed partnership with North Carolina A&T, the CAA welcomes a world-renowned institution with a prominent academic and athletic history, and knows that North Carolina A&T fully embodies and embraces the vision and core commitments of the CAA. Today, the CAA and North Carolina A&T embark on a new beginning. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase." Intercollegiate athletics, as we know it, is currently embroiled in a time of significant challenges and impending changes. As the winds of change continue to swirl, through its newly formed partnership, North Carolina A&T and the CAA have together not only taken the first step, but have taken a gigantic leap in properly positioning themselves for future success and longevity. In closing, I'd like to again thank Chancellor Martin and Earl for their steadfast resolve and commitment, not only to this moment of change, but to how this moment in time serves to benefit North Carolina A&T and its student athletes' future success, both in the classroom and in their athletic pursuits. Chancellor Martin's initial strategic plan, A&T Preeminence 2020, Embracing Our Past, Creating Our Future, was refreshed in 2018 and appropriately titled A&T Preeminence, Taking the Momentum to 2023. While North Carolina A&T joining the CAA may not have been on the table in 2018 when the revised strategic plan was developed, this is another great step, and as the title says, a momentum builder for the future of such a prestigious institution. I am truly honored to be here today to celebrate this special day in the history of your university. Thank you again for the opportunity to say a few words, and go Aggies.
Good afternoon. Let me say thanks to all of you for joining us today, and a special note of appreciation for Commissioner D'Antonio for being with us as well, and appreciate your comments as well. Since my arrival here at North Carolina A&T State University a little over 12 years ago, now approaching 13 years ago, we positioned this institution, as Commissioner D'Antonio suggested in his comments, through a very bold and aggressive plan for our future, beginning with A&T Preeminence 2020. And within that framework, we defined with our board, with the constituency of our university, that we would be very clear, very bold, and very aggressive about the future of our university, and positioning it to grow and expand the role we play as an institution of higher education, as a very aggressive doctoral research land-grant institution. And we have, since that day of approval of that strategic plan, continued to frame a competitive group of peer institutions against whom we have benchmarked ourselves. And we've managed the benchmarks and evaluated ourselves year over year in our progress in continuing to grow this university, enhance the opportunities for the outstanding students we bring to this university, be they student athletes or otherwise, and affording them the very best and most competitive atmosphere for realizing their aspirational dreams. But also creating a very competitive research and innovative institution that drives research and innovation that contributes to the competitiveness economically of this region and of the state as a whole. Every year, year over year, we have paid particular intimate attention to our progress in growth and prosperity and brand recognition. That peer group that we look at today is a refreshed group from the day I set foot on this campus. There's a group framed by the UNC Board of Governors against whom we compete. There's a group that we frame, that we look at as well when we think about athletics. And everything we've done continues to focus on continuing to position our university as that aspirational, competitive doctoral research land-grant institution. Making the tough decision to accept the invitation by the Colonial Athletic Association to become one of its member institutions was ultimately a no-brainer for us. 6, 7 years ago, when we began a major conversation about evaluating athletics, as led by our board and it's led by Athletic Association and its work under the direction of Mr. Earl Hilton, our athletics director. We have continued to evaluate the important role that athletics plays in the visibility and competitiveness and the brand and recognition of our university. When the invitation was extended to us by the CAA back in November, we realized in conversations with the leadership of our Board of Trustees that this was a very important conversation for us to take a very deep dive in reevaluating where we are with athletics today and making a decision about the importance of becoming a member of the Colonial Athletic Association. Following the unanimous and enthusiastic support of our Board of Trustees last Friday brings us to this day where we again say publicly, through the media and all of our outlets, of our excitement and enthusiasm about becoming members of the Colonial Athletics Association. We want to thank all of our fans, our alums, Aggie Nation, our board, Aggie Athletics Foundation, our coaches, coaching staff, teams who were part of the conversation, who helped us evaluate and assess whether this was the best decision for our university. And let me assure you, enthusiastically, it is indeed the best decision for the future of our university. So before I step away from the mic, I do want to say publicly a very special note of appreciation to the Big South Conference, to the board as chaired by President Bradley Creed of Campbell University, Commissioner Kyle Callender and his incredible staff, and they're welcoming us in the Big South. Albeit short as a tenure, we've appreciated how warmly welcomed we've been made to feel as a part of the Big South Conference, and how they have also recognized the importance of this decision we've now made to move into the Colonial Athletics Association as well. So again, with that in mind, I'll certainly step away and allow some questions to flow as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll have time for some questions. Please raise your hand and I will call on you. You'll get a question, you can get a follow-up, and then we'll come back to you if we have time. Please let me know who your question is for when you ask it. Questions?
Well, I have a question for the chancellor. I also have a question for the commissioner.
We'll start with the commission.
Commissioner, okay.
How are you?
How you doing?
Great, thank you.
My name is David Squires. I write for the Undefeated. I'm also a faculty member here at North Carolina A&T. So my question is, invitation November to North Carolina A&T. Can you talk about invitations that went out to other schools, particularly MEAC schools? We heard Hampton, Morgan State, and others.
Well, let's start with just a factual statement to begin with. Approximately a month ago, Hampton accepted an invitation to join the CAA. So they are a member of the CAA.
Well, excuse me, I meant Howard.
Okay, Howard. So it would, today, we at the CAA, in conjunction with our membership, of which North Carolina A&T is now part of, we will continue to make decisions going forward that are going to put our conference in the best position to maintain a sustainable and competitive model for those institutions that are a member of our conference. It would not be appropriate for me today to enter into a discussion or confirm or deny whether or not we are speaking with any other institutions about membership, but it is important to note that we will continue to make those appropriate decisions in the best interest of the CAA as we go forward.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you. Nice to see you.
Squires?
How you doing?
Doing great. How about you?
All right.
Excellent.
So the question to you is, so when the announcement was made about moving to the Big South, some people felt that this was a sort of a stopgap measure, and probably in 2 to 3 years, A&T will be going somewhere else. Turns out, people were saying on social media, it happened faster, and I know a lot of stuff happened. So what is your sort of reaction to that, to people saying this is sort of an incremental move, and what's next?
As I said in my opening comments, we, in concert with our Board of Trustees, continually reframe strategy for the future of our university, growth, investments, who our peers are, how we stack up against those peers. And as we realize the objectives we've set for our university, every 3 to 5 to 8 years, worst case, we reevaluate our plans for the future, our assessment of those goals that we set as part of our plans for the future and investments we've made. And if we've met those objectives that we've set, and we then frame a restructuring of our strategic plans for the future, we'll also reevaluate our peers. And as we look at our academic peers, in a similar way, we will also reevaluate our athletics peers, our accomplishments in athletics, championships, competitiveness of sports, current sports. Is there a need to make investments in additional sports, investments in athletics facilities? And so certainly along the way, as we now are entering the Colonial Athletic Association, we will set some very clear objectives and milestones for our university to achieve as a member of the Colonial Athletics Conference. Wins. No one hates losing more than I do. I think Earl probably. But we want to win. We want to be a contributing member of the conference. We want to make sure that the conference also continues to meet our expectations as well as every member of the Colonial Athletics Conference, I'm sure, seeks to do. We also want to make sure that our student athletes' needs are being met continuously year over year. The investments we're making, the facilities we're providing for them, and support for our athletics coaches, staff, and the like. And so at some point down the road, in answer to your question specifically, we'll evaluate the objectives we've set for athletics and our membership in the Colonial Athletics Association. And if we believe we met those objectives in a sustainable way, we'll reevaluate what the next horizon would be for athletics for North Carolina A&T. I'm a firm believer, as I lead the university in concert with our board, that we can no longer allow ourselves to stagnate around decisions we make about the future of our university. Growth, impact, prosperity of our university have to be critically a part of the future for our university. And athletics, obviously, is a key part of what we set as framework for our institution as well.
Thank you.
Any more questions? These three gentlemen will be available for one-on-ones. If you choose to do so, we also have some student athletes here as well if you want to talk to some of our student athletes, and of course we have some of our head coaches if you want to talk to them as well. Again, we appreciate everyone coming out, and certainly we would like to tell Mr. Joey D how we do it around here. So can I get an Aggie party? Aggie party! Thank you for coming out.
Can I get a picture of the three of us? Yes.
Quick clarification question about Albany.
Yeah.
Albany's still a football member.
Albany's still a football member, that is correct, yes.
They weren't on one of the slides that we presented.
Yes. Zach, can you go? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Josh, why don't we do you in front of the backdrop over
Yeah.
here? So you're taking a chance in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah. Just slide it that way.
Sorry, that way, oh yeah, with the wires. Perfect.